what I am about to tell you is the ultimate story of Stockholm Syndrome. So we have a woman in Sweden, a middle-aged feminist who has been avid in the Me Too feminist campaign. She works at an asylum home in Sweden, and she went into a relationship with a Afghan child refugee. When the child refugee turned 18, he wasn't allowed to live at the asylum home anymore, so this feminist woman took him home to live at her home as his boyfriend. Now, the woman has a 12-year-old daughter, and this Afghan refugee sexually assaulted the woman's 12-year-old daughter. They were sitting on a sofa when the guy took his hand inside her panties and started assaulting her. So what do you do if you're the mother? A feminist mother, active in the Me Too hashtag campaign against sexual assaults. Your own, very own flesh and blood, your very own daughter, your 12-year-old daughter gets sexually assaulted by this Afghan refugee. What do you do? Well, what this woman did will shock you. She did not do anything. In fact, she tried to cover this up. She did not call the police. She did not report this sexual assault to the police at all. Instead, she told her daughter that she shouldn't say anything about this, and the 12-year-old girl's older sister has confirmed this as well in court. Now, you're probably asking yourself, why did the mother not report the sexual assault against her own daughter to the police? Well, she told the court why. This might upset a few people. The reason she did not report her own daughter being sexually assaulted is because she was afraid that the refugee who did the attack would be deported from Sweden. I am not kidding you. She did not report the attack on her daughter because she was afraid that the refugee would be deported. Well, she did get her wish. The attacker only got 100 hours of community service. But what kind of world am I living in? What are my fellow Swedish people doing? I mean, this is insane. She is neglecting her own flesh and blood, her own daughter, because she's afraid that this refugee who attacked her own daughter would be deported from Sweden. Anyone, any migrant, any refugee who commits a crime should be deported from Sweden. If you are a refugee or a migrant in a country and you commit a crime, you break the laws of that land, why should you stay? Then you should be deported back to your own home country. That's a no-brainer. That's just a simple, basic logic. If you come to a country and you break the laws, well, maybe you shouldn't come to that country. You should keep the laws, obey the laws. But no, this mother, she... this is the ultimate case of Stockholm Syndrome. Ultimate cuckery. I'm really lost for words. I mean, imagine this 12-year-old. Imagine if you was this 12-year-old daughter, and knowing that your mom cared more about this refugee than about you. I mean, this little girl must be completely. I mean, her life is probably destroyed for life. I mean, this is absolutely horrible, and her mother has the nerve to call herself a feminist, standing up for so-called women's rights. I mean, this is the most absurd thing I think I might have seen come from Sweden yet. The next day after the sexual assault, the 12-year-old girl refused to go home to school and instead called her dad and told him about what had happened. Her dad and her mom are separated, which is not very surprising considering the circumstances here with this feminism and so on. So this 12-year-old girl called her dad and told him what had happened, and he immediately called the police and reported the attack to the police, which is why the Afghan refugee has now been found guilty in court of sexual assault. Now he got quite a mild sentence, shall we say it mildly. He got sentenced to 100 hours of community service, not even prison, for sexually assaulting a 12-year-old girl. And the reason he didn't get any prison was because he claimed to be 18 years old. So he got community service instead. The court said that if he had gotten prison sentence, he would have been sentenced to 3 months prison. So the guy wasn't deported at all. So I guess the 12-year-old's mother can breathe a sigh of relief that her wishes came true and that he didn't get deported. That he actually gets to stay in Sweden, because in fact recent Facebook updates suggest that the Afghan refugee is actually still living with her, with the mother. On Facebook in November in 2017, she posted on Facebook that she had this wonderful young guy living with her. And she asked in the Facebook group whether any of the other middle-aged women wanted to take care of this wonderful young Afghan. Now this story really gets to me. This mother ignores her flesh and blood, her own daughter, getting raped because she is afraid that this migrant will get deported if she reports the rape. What kind of... how cocked... How many levels of Stockholm syndrome do you have to be on to do this kind of thing towards your own daughter? To completely ignore her getting sexually assaulted because you're afraid of this migrant from a completely another country who has no relation to you at all, that you prioritize him over your own daughter. How, in what world is this even possible? And the hypocrisy when it comes to this feminist, she's an avid feminist in this Me Too campaign against sexual harassment, but she completely ignores her own daughter getting raped by a migrant. And the hypocrisy here with this feminism is astounding. She's this huge Me Too supporter against sexual harassment, she's this huge feminist, but she completely ignores her own daughter getting sexually assaulted when it's committed by a refugee. She'd rather have the refugee living in her home and not getting reported to the police, not risking deportation, than caring about her own daughter. You know, any so-called feminist worth her salt would be outraged at this. Anyone that really cares about women. I care about women. I am a supporter of women's rights not to be raped, of women's rights not to be sexually assaulted. I have probably done more than many to try and bring attention to the issue in Sweden of all the women sadly getting sexually assaulted. You know, I just posted a video the other day about how 1 in 8 women in Sweden will be raped during her lifetime, sadly, and I'm trying to bring attention to it so that this can stop. But the mainstream media and the politicians and these hypocrisiest feminists are completely ignoring this because it's not politically correct, because they rather care about refugees from a completely other country than your own daughter, your own flesh and blood. And the mainstream media is not reporting on this. So make sure to share this video all you can, guys, all over social media. And hit the like button because that helps this video get more views. And make sure to subscribe if you haven't done so already, and hit the notification bell so you get notifications whenever new videos come out, and whenever I do live streams you'll get notifications as well so you don't miss them. So make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell, and leave a comment below what you think, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys later. As you might know, PayPal recently banned me due to the nature of my activities, they said. Now, I'm just a journalist reporting the truth about what's happening in Sweden, and it seems like the left is trying to starve me financially to try and hinder me in my work in reporting what's actually happening in Sweden. Now, don't let the left stop real journalism. There is now a free speech alternative to PayPal called Maker Support. They only have one rule on their website, and that is the American First Amendment, free speech. They are an excellent free speech platform on which you can support content creators and journalists like me. You can either support me with a one-off donation on their website, or you can support me monthly, whichever you choose best. If you support me monthly with $10 or more, you will get credited in my videos. Of course, if you want to stay anonymous, that's completely fine as well. But anything is highly appreciated and helps me keep going, producing more content and news like this. So anything is highly appreciated. Please consider supporting me out on Maker Support. And I'll leave the links in the description below. And here goes the credit list for my wonderful supporter who supported me on Maker Support, and also on Patreon. I do have Patreon as well, but I prefer Maker Support since they are a free speech alternative. But everyone who supports me on Maker Support and Patreon with $10 or more get credited in my videos. So here's a shout out to my excellent supporters.